The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. This is the first Wednesday of the month. This is one of our few shows that we provide on a national basis, only because our expert is so good at what he does. And it has helped so many people. And I just said, you know what, instead of just doing the Georgia area, a show like yours should be done on a national basis. And we just really don't do that with anybody. We're more localized by city or state. But this doctor has got such an amazing story. He's an author. His wife is a doctor. And I want to welcome I'm telling you, I am such a huge fan of Dr. Eldred Taylor. Good morning, Dr. Taylor.
Hello, Steve. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. You know what's amazing is we do about 60 shows a month. And your show, because I'm such a big fan, I probably take up half the show just telling people how much I love doing the show with you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's a great opportunity for me. I appreciate the opportunity as another venue to try and help, educate patients and just do more of what I like. I like doing. This way of practicing medicine has been, very beneficial for me. Learning, how to maintain my health, but also to see the improvements in my patients and it's that kind of gratification that you want from whatever you're doing in life. You want to feel like you're making a difference. So this is just another opportunity to help make a difference for someone else.
Hey, Dr. Ted, it's amazing because the patients you see are usually patients that all the other doctors have given up on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because, and we'll talk about this, more as we go along. Because, hey, we are educated in how to identify and treat diseases. And diseases have very specific criteria. For you to have heart disease, you have to have certain numbers and all this, So when you get to that point, wow, man, they can really, kick into high gear, put you in the hospital, get you do the cath exam and all that stuff. But that takes time for you to reach that point. But there's a whole lot of space in between being healthy and having disease. And the problem is that, you keep going to doctors during that time period before you reach disease. And because you haven't reached that point, they don't know what to do. So that's where functional medicine or longevity medicine or whatever, that's where that comes in, is that, hey, we need to find this when it's in the dysfunctional stage, not in the disease stage. So that's why the doctors throw up their hands, because they're not meeting any of their criteria. But there's other criteria about functional health that you can identify and you can intervene a lot sooner than waiting till you meet some criteria that qualifies you for a disease.
Dr. Taylor, you went to one of the finest medical schools, did your internship and residency at one of the finest hospitals. I got a question I cannot believe I've never asked you before. So Dr. Taylor's wife is also an MD. Yeah. What did you were a very well-known OB-GYN doctor. And what did your wife say when you told her that you basically wanted to change your practice?
Well, it really, you got to understand how my home works. I don't make any independent decisions. Okay, so I didn't tell my wife what we were going to do. We decided what we were going to do, and the reason why I changed is because my wife was having dysfunction in her hormones, and I was treating her like she had a disease, and she didn't, by birth control pills, all this kind of stuff. She was really having dysfunction. So it's actually a patient who came in and was asking me about bioidentical hormones. So I listened to a tape. Actually, my wife listened to this tape explaining this. Now, I went through a whole OBGYN residency, and I'm going to tell you, I didn't understand female hormones after 4 years of doing OBGYN. And that sounds ridiculous. And I'm not saying anything about Emory, but we were taught how to treat diseases. Okay. And so we weren't taught how hormones function. We like, hey, if they have this, you do this. So anyway, so how did I make that decision? Well, me and my wife learned how to treat dysfunction in hormones. And you do that by testing hormones through saliva, which is something I hadn't even heard of. But you have to test hormones through saliva. And I always wondered in my residency, why didn't we test hormone levels? Because the blood doesn't tell you anything. And so that was like a aha moment for me. It's like, man, there's a lot of things that I didn't learn in my residency that can help people. And now I'm going to tell you, I probably practice 5% of what I learned in medical school in my residency, because I'm not interested in treating disease anymore. I'm interested in treating dysfunction and and this is the new thing that we're talking about, is that I've been trying to get you from dysfunction and imbalance to balance. But what longevity is, or increasing your health span, is taking you from balance to optimize to thriving. Okay, so it's great. And I realized this when I took this class, and we'll talk about this, is that I've been spending 15 years getting people from dysfunction to function and balance. But now people are interested in thriving, and I'll give you the example is that Tom Brady, even though I hate him because I live in Atlanta and he's with the Patriots, he was with the Patriots. How did he thrive up until age 45? 90% of it is lifestyle. It's not like he was born with a quarterback gene and to live. He learned how to thrive, and what it was his lifestyle, what he ate, how he did, all of that. So that is what we want to do now, is that a 70-year-old now is not a 70-year-old 30 years ago. Okay. These 70-year-olds want to play pickleball and ballroom dance and go travel and all of that stuff. And 40, 50, 60 years ago, when you were 70, you were thought to be in a rocking chair and a wheelchair. And that's just how life was. That's how my parents' life was. Last 10 years of their life, they just slowly, steadily declined. Well, that's not what people want anymore. And so how do you change your lifestyle to impact your lifespan? And I know I'm going on and on because I'm kind of excited.
No, go on.
But the key is, you don't want to live to be 100, but only be healthy until you're 60. You'd rather live to 80 or 90 and be healthy until you're 79 and a half or 89 and a half. That's what you're really looking for, is forever how long I live, how can I stay as healthy and thriving for as long as possible? Because nobody wants to suffer and die. We all know we have to die, but do we all have to suffer and die? So that's the change we want to make, is how can we thrive and live our best life for as long as possible? And it's not about taking a bunch of drugs. It's not about doing some kind of, supernatural diet plan or whatever. It's some simple things that you can do. And the key is that you can actually measure your biologic age. So you may be 60, but your body is 70, or you could be 60 and your body is 45 or 50. And there's ways to measure that. But you're not going to get that at a traditional doc because they're waiting until you have disease. So we're trying to figure out how can we maintain that health for as long as possible. So I'm going to stop and let you ask.
Well, it's amazing that we're talking about this today because last night, this is somebody right in your backyard. I saw Jimmy Carter, and they were bragging about how he's 100 years old.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, he looked so decrepit.
Yeah.
He looked like he was so out of it.
Yeah.
And there was a doctor that came on and said, you know what? It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
And it talked about exercise. And the diet was mostly vegetables and fruits. But God, when I saw Jimmy Carter, I don't know if that's called living or not, Dr. Taylor.
Exactly. And that's what and that's a great example. Yeah. It's just, how long do you want to live? And how long can you maintain healthy through that whole thing? And we've always said health is wealth. And you can be the former president, you can have $1 billion. But if you don't have health, you're really, it's poor. Poor health leads to poor everything. You have poor insight, you have poor ability to handle your finances, and really aging is, and this is this is something that people can relate to too. Really, aging is your ability to handle a changing environment. Okay, is that when you're young, you have a lot of resiliency. These athletes, a 20-year-old athlete, they damage their knee after a year. Wow, they're right back to normal. A 40-year-old damages his knee, end of the career, because he's not able to adjust to that change. Okay, so just think about COVID. Who died in COVID? People who were unable to adjust to that change in the environment, and their immune system could build a defense against the COVID virus. It was really young, really old, really sick people who had lost their ability to change and defend themselves against the environment. I always say that the body wants to live even though you keep trying to kill it. You kill it with what you're exposed to, you kill it, how you eat, how you sleep. You keep trying to kill your body, and it keeps trying to defend you. So if you could work in concert with your body wants to live. So, but if you could provide it the things to help maintain its ability to live, then you've got the key to health, is that can you maintain your body's resiliency to fight against all of the things in your environment that are trying to damage it, and which are man-made and made. I mean, in the wild, what are you trying to do? You're trying to keep from getting eaten by your predator. You have to be able to adjust to the environment. Well, our predator is the chemicals that we're exposed to. Our predator is the stress that we're exposed to. Our predator is the lack of sleep that we don't get, how we push ourselves, to the brink of exhaustion on every day and don't give ourselves times to recover. So those are the predators that we have to defend against. And there's ways to do it. And there's ways to see, hey, how damaged am I? How many bites out of me did the predator take, from me? And how do I repair those? So you can be very specific to each person, so you don't treat a 25-year-old like you treat a 75-year-old, because their resilience and their ability to bounce back are totally different.
I noticed that, we're getting ready to have an election, and I look at President Trump. He's just a little bit younger than Biden, but look at the difference. I mean, the way they walk, the way they talk, it's just such a big difference. And I know you're taking a course now, a longevity course. And it's just amazing because, when we first started we were talking about anti-aging, and you've developed a lot of different treatments that you offer your patients.
Hmm.
Um, and people are so afraid of getting old. And in fact, one of the questions I've noticed because of my age is, do you ever think about suicide? I never remember seeing that before.
Yeah.
It-
Yeah.
It's a lot of it's mindset, isn't it?
No doubt about it. Yeah. Most of it is how you think about getting old. If you think that you're going to end up in a wheelchair and be, well, you're probably right. If you think, hey, look, I'm going to do whatever I can to maintain my health, and your mindset makes you notice things that get you toward that goal. If your goal is being healthy, you will notice things that talk about health. If you are thinking, oh, I'm going to be just like my parents and I'm just going to, wither away and die and, and suffer and die. Well, yeah, that's probably what you're going to do, because you're going to notice, your brain is going to notice those things, and it's going to grab hold to those ideas, and your brain can make things come true. And that's I'm not, I don't want to get into metaphysical type stuff, but it definitely is your mindset. And you talk about, I'm taking a course. I'm going to tell you, what people are worried about is losing their mental capacity, and everybody's worried about cancer. Okay. So, but one thing, let's talk about mental capacity and why am I taking a course? Because I'm going to tell you the best thing to keep your brain functioning is to keep learning,
Uh,
is to keep learning, is to keep growing, keep doing something, learn how to garden, learn a new language, take a new course, whatever. So my mother had dementia. So uh, I'm concerned about that, and two of her siblings had it. So I'm doing everything I can to keep my brain healthy,
is that
so
hereditary, Dr. Taylor?
well, there are genes that will increase your susceptibility to being Alzheimer's. There's a gene called ApoE4. If you have one of those genes, you have a 7% chance of having early onset diabetes. I'm sorry, Alzheimer's. You have a 25% chance of having late onset, which means like 75 and older. But here's the great thing about that gene. It doesn't mean, oh, yes, you're going to have Alzheimer's. That gene can be turned on or turned off. What turns that gene on is saturated fats. So that particular person who has that ApoE4 gene needs to avoid saturated fats. Now, someone who doesn't have that gene, saturated fats probably not going to do anything for them. So that's what we talk about, personalized medicine. What are you susceptible to? How do you turn that gene on and off? Your genes are not predestined. There's all this information on there, and you can turn genes on and you can turn genes off. And there's certain lifestyle practices that'll turn certain genes on, and there's certain lifestyle practices that'll turn certain genes off. So you can have a more personal lifestyle plan, instead of thinking that every diet is for you or every supplement is for you. Is what are you susceptible to, and how can we decrease the chances of that gene being turned on? So that's what we're talking about, is how can we make all this health information mean more to a certain individual? Because there's health information all over the internet and bookstores and whatever. But what does it mean to you? What are you more likely to be susceptible to, and how do you construct your lifestyle to prevent that or to delay it for as long as possible? So that's the key. So even something like a gene, because when I was in at Emory and at Grady, which is the public hospital here, we saw sickle cell patients, and that was back then. It was like it's predetermined, they're going to live a miserable life and die young. Well, you can learn how to turn that gene on and off. And now people with sickle cell are living much longer. It's still an issue, but they're living much longer now. So it's all about, hey, even if I have a gene that is actually causing a disease, there's a way to delay the onset of the full expression of that gene. And you just need to know what that gene is and what facilitates it being expressed and not being expressed.
First of all, what is the difference between, say, lifespan and health span?
Yeah. Okay. So lifespan is what's on your funeral program, that 1936 to 2024. That's lifespan. I was born, I died. That's what's on your birth and death certificate. Your health span is how long were you healthy during that lifespan? Okay. So that's what I was saying. Do you want to live to be 100, but be sick since you were 70? So now you got 30 years of life that you're not going to be thriving. You're going to be managing a disease. Or would you rather live to 90, which is still a great life, but you were healthy and playing pickleball till you were 89 and a half? You just, just laid down one day and didn't wake up to go play pickleball. That's kind of my ideal. And that's my mindset. So that's what I'm focused on. And so how did I see this longevity class? Because I'm focused on it. And I don't know if it's because Alexa is listening to everything that I say, and all of a sudden it popped up in my Facebook feed or whatever, because I really do believe,
Okay, I've got a heavy question for you.
Okay.
Because at my age, and I am just turned 70, I will see people that I went to school with, same age,
yeah,
but the way they move is a lot slower than, say, the way I move. They're just their oral function, the speaking is slower.
Yeah.
What makes, now I know that growing up, I worked out every day up until I was maybe mid-50s and really watched what I ate. Right. Does that have anything to do with, why is there such a difference in some people's age?
Well, this is what I will tell you. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you don't move, you're going to lose your ability to move. Okay. If whatever you don't do, you're going to lose it. But whatever you do more of, so it's talking about, I'd love to talk about stress, but what it says is that, okay, so if you do a particular workout or whatever, so what you do is you work out and you have to give your body time to recover. But then when you go back and work out again, you're a little bit stronger. Okay. Right. And so you go do it again, you get a little bit stronger. So the body needs a little bit of stress so that it can remain strong or even get stronger. Okay. So you working out, it allows you to be more resilient to the physical stress of lifting weights. So, but if you stop, your resiliency goes down. So if you slow down your movement or your movement begins to slow. Hey, look, I just turned 64. I noticed that I was becoming less flexible. Well, then I went and joined the gym and said, look, I want to remain flexible and I want to be able to be mobile for most of my life. Okay. So we started doing exercises to increase my flexibility and increase my mobility. And he measures it and it's increasing. Okay. So that's what you have to do. So, but most people, hey, I'm moving slower. What do? They stop moving. They move less. So then what happens?
Yes.
They move even slower. And what do? They move less. Well, when I started moving slower, I said, look, I got to move more so that my body will do it. So that's the thing. So if it's according to which direction do you want to go? You got to stress your body. You got to teach it how to be resilient so that it can fight all of the external forces. Because you're right. The external forces are trying to slow you down because they are really damaging the systems in your body. So you've got to reinforce those with how you move, how you eat. And there's certain things like peptides. I'll tell you, now you see the importance or how strong the effect peptides can be because you're on the Ozempic, which is a GLP-1 peptide. It's just a peptide. and it can make all of those changes in your body, how you think, how you look. Well, there's peptides that do all kinds of things that help your body to communicate to the different systems better. So that's a part of longevity too, is how can I introduce these peptides, which are totally natural, just amino acids, and it can help me to be more resilient and to fight off these predators that are attacking me every day. Because your body can do it if you will allow it to communicate and to tell the body how it can have a strategy to fight all these things. But when you lose that ability to communicate, that the heart to communicate with the brain and communicate with the gut, so all of these things can be in sync to help you to adjust to this stress, then you're gonna have a problem. But anyway, I think I've talked more on this on this one because it's something new that I'm learning. I'm more excited and passionate about it. But another thing I'll say, Steve, I know we're running out of time, is that my practice has aged with me. When my wife was having hormonal problems, I focused on that. In the middle part of my life, I was stressed and I focused on that. Now I'm 64. I'm trying to figure out, hey, how can I keep doing this? So a lot of these things that I'm presenting to you, they really have a selfish undertone. I'm trying to, do something to help me or my wife or whatever. And then I say, well, what the heck? I'll just tell you about it too. So I wish I was more altruistic, but a lot of it is selfish desires.
Well, this is like your diet and your garden you've got.
Yeah. All of that is like, how can I maintain my health? How can I keep doing what I like doing for as long as possible?
Well, Dr. Taylor, I cannot tell you how blessed we are to have you as our expert. That's why we've put this on a national basis, and we will be replaying this show in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So Dr. Taylor is actually with us twice a month. Tell people how they can reach you, and it doesn't matter what city or state that you're in, because you do telemedicine.
Yeah. And I'm really, so I tell you, I'm in this course, but I'm really trying to learn how I can make this available by virtual appointments. But anyway, you can contact me at my website. It's taylormedicalgroup.net. And you can email me there. There's a lot of information there. And as I go through this course, I'm really going to try and have it where it's a membership where, hey, we go through this together, because longevity is a lifelong thing. So it's something that the environment's going to constantly change over the next 10, 20 years, and we have to be resilient for that.
Dr. Taylor, just also tell, you've written several books. What are those books?
Yeah. Are Your Hormones Making You Sick? That's all about our journey in understanding hormones. And then the other one is the stress connection and how stress is connected to every system in your body. And you'll see in this longevity course, they talk about stress. And so those are the 2 books we've written. And, if you understand those 2 things, you are way ahead in understanding how to improve your health.
Well, Dr. Taylor, who's with us first Wednesday of the month at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Dr. Taylor, thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon.
All right. Thanks so much.
That's Dr. Eldred Taylor, amazing MD, and he's with us again every month. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.